Last week on Gleeboot, we talked about how terrible Shelby was, and we talked about a unicorn-themed campaign and how Bert is the only well-adjusted adult in all of Lima, Ohio. And that's what you missed on Gleeboot.
Gleeboot!
Yay, go Bert.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I literally don't remember it.
Welcome back to Gleeboot, the show where we get drunk and talk about rebooting Glee. I'm Cullen.
Alyssa.
I'm Hannah.
And we have our special guest with us, DarylJim.
Hello.
Hey. Hi, DarylJim.
I'm waving and I shouldn't.
Yeah, this is podcasts are a visual medium.
Yeah, so today we're talking about the episode Asian F.
Which I think last week you ended on like, catch us next week where we talk about Asian F, which we can only assume is not going to be problematic at all. And that was the first line I wrote because I was like, I can only assume this will not be problematic. That's my assumption going in. I think that was a very low standard to set the bar.
Yeah, that's a typical Glee low standard, though.
You can hope that it's just not going to be problematic.
So, DarylJim, what is your journey with the show Glee?
Oh, okay. So I watched up until Kurt and Rachel were in college, and I just like a little bit of that, but I didn't finish the season. And then when Corey Monteith, Matthew. I don't know why I was going to say Matthew. Is that a person? Is that a star? Corey Matthew?
Corey Matthews, yeah.
Matthews.
Yeah.
Boy Meets World. And then I watched his tribute episode. And I just kind of like popped in and out of like random seasons just to be the newer seasons just to like get a feel of like the new characters. I did not care. I was like, I want to care, but it's strange because they all feel like they're replacing the original cast. It was just strange to me, and I don't think I was on board yet. And I never finished it. One day I think I will finish all of Glee. We'll see. Maybe when I'm really sick or something.
There you go.
And I have to be home.
Follow along with the podcast, and then you can finish with the podcast.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, we're pitching that to everybody who comes on. They're like, maybe I'll finish it. We're like, listen along with us.
So what are we drinking today?
I am drinking a Funky Buddha. It's a local Florida beer, and it's very good. I've had it a couple times on the podcast.
Ooh. In the honor and remembrance of All Hallows Eve, am drinking a Bloody Mary.
Very nice.
One of my favorite tutors.
Nice.
Bloody Mary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, tutors, Tudor, not T-O-R.
That was a layered joke. I liked that. Two layered references.
It's like, you're learning how to be bloody.
Yeah.
Cool.
She tutors me from beyond the grave.
I was like, wait a second.
She's like, burn those
He goes into the
sins.
bathroom, stands in the mirror, and he's like, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. And then she's like, okay, so here's what you do. Douse yourself in blood.
Yes.
And change your name to Mary.
Perfect.
I'm drinking an Angry Orchards, unfiltered as usual, a Finn Hudson, as I call them.
Oh. And I'm drinking a peach already mixed margarita.
Oh.
Yes.
Love margaritas.
Have you guys ever had a white gummy at Jamba Juice?
Mm-mm.
No.
It's on their secret menu.
Oh, does everyone have a secret menu?
I think so, but I only care about Jamba Juice. They have a lot of peach flavor and pineapple, and so this kind of reminds me of the white gummy at Jamba Juice.
I used to be obsessed with the Jamba Juice at BU because I could use my fake student money to buy Jamba Juice.
Yeah, you would stroll into class, you'd have your Jamba Juice. I'd have my Starbucks because you'd be coming from a different direction and we would go to 2 different places on that side wherever we're coming from. I'd have Starbucks, you'd have Jamba Juice.
The memes.
Oh yes, BU.
So DarylJim, did you take the BuzzFeed quizzes?
I did.
All right.
I did.
Tell us who you are and who you're dating.
Wait, I'm going to say who I'm dating first because I think
Okay.
I like took it in that order. So I'm dating Sam Evans. And you know what? I'm
Wow.
here for it.
Yeah.
Sam!
You
Golden
know,
Retriever boyfriend.
he is just such a nice guy. You know, he's just wonderful. I don't know. I wasn't upset at it at all. I didn't know who I wanted to be my boyfriend. Who I wanted. I was like, who do I don't know. But Sam was like, I like this.
Yeah. He's not in the show as far as we know anymore. So.
I know. Like,
I
did they
mean-
write him off? I'm waiting for him to come back. No spoilers. If he comes back and you know it, don't tell me.
Wait,
Yeah,
is
I
this
don't remember.
Have you not are you watching? Is this your first time?
Yeah. Well, yes.
This is Alyssa's first time. I've had a similar journey to you, but season 3 is a complete blur to me. Like I don't remember a goddamn thing.
Yeah.
So I have no idea if Sam comes back.
I know, but I'm not telling.
Aw.
No
that's nice of
telling.
you.
No spoilers.
I hope I didn't spoil anything or
Nah.
say anything too much earlier.
No. I knew everything that you mentioned.
Great.
And then did BuzzFeed tell you who
Yes.
you are?
I'm Quinn and that's what I want.
You're literally a power couple.
I'm literally DarylJim is a power couple by himself.
Yes.
Do I need a date ever? No, I'm Sam and Quinn.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's amazing. They were a great couple. R.I.P.
I loved them. They were just
They were so good together.
they complement each other so well.
Yeah, they have such
Mhm.
good chemistry and they are just 2 beautiful people being beautiful together.
Yeah.
That's what you want
Blonde.
out of couples.
I don't know.
I
So
like
good.
Quinn better with pink hair, so I think she needs to dye it back to pink.
I also love the bob. I love the length of this haircut. So she's perfect.
Guys, I've watched her luggage. I've
What?
watched what's her
Diana
real name?
Agron.
Diana Agron's luggage at the comedy school that I was interning at and worked for. She came in to watch the show and then I was trying not to freak out and I was like, oh my god, I've had her as my screensaver for my phone just because I want to be her. And she was like, oh, she was talking to my manager, like, hi, I have luggage, I have to go to the airport after this. Can I leave it here? And then my manager's like, DarylJim, can you put this by you and watch it while, you know, the show's going on? And I was like,
Wow.
yeah, sure. And then she went in and I'm like, oh my god. I was so obsessed with her because I wanted to be her.
That's really high honor, like in a weird way. You had to like watch all of her personal belongings.
Yeah, it was I don't know, it was the best. And then at the end of the show, she's all like, oh, can I get my luggage? And I'm like, yeah, of course. I don't know what this persona I had with her. I was just like, yeah, I don't know.
Like, you're just
felt-
like uber casual. You're like,
yeah, uber
Wow.
casual to where it's like it wasn't casual. She probably was like, what is wrong with this dude? He's like talk whispering. Like, yeah, of course. Like, I don't know. I loved that moment. I can't believe I almost forgot about it.
that's amazing.
Oh, she was doing a show there. She was playing an actress. There was a show where like I won't talk too much about it, but one person improvises and one person is acting. One person has a script and the improviser doesn't know what the script is and they just kind of try to make it work.
I was gonna say, I was
Ooh.
like, wait, Diana Agron does improv? I don't believe that.
I don't think, yeah.
That's
But
cool
anyway.
though.
Mhm.
Crazy. So you got to be your idol according to BuzzFeed. So that's perfect because BuzzFeed knows us all better than we know ourselves.
Oh boy.
Yep.
I hope not.
True. I take a lot of BuzzFeed quizzes. They know a lot about me now, about my weird preferences for like cottage-looking houses. Yeah.
Do you know what mystical creature you are? I took that one.
What did you get?
I got a phoenix, like every other living soul on the planet. I swear nobody else gets anything except for Phoenix.
Phoenix is the only answer to that. They were lazy and they're like, guys.
I was gonna say,
headlines.
I don't know, I'd be like the Loch Ness Monster or something.
I don't think that was an option. There's only like 6 answers, so.
True.
So Asian F. Let's talk about it. Let's jump right into it.
Were we all a little uncomfortable?
Just like a lot.
I mean, yes, it's like Glee. It's an episode of Glee.
True. That's true. It always makes me uncomfortable.
The things they say. I'm like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I just like, I guess to start us off, I texted Cullen after I finished watching it. I was like, it feels kind of racist that they called it Asian F when that was like a very small storyline of it. And I was like, I don't understand what they're going for. Shock factor? It shocked me, not in a good way.
I was surprised that was what the title was as well.
I thought
it just seemed like a very small part of the story.
Yeah, I felt that at the end of watching the episode, I was like, this was just like 3 scenes, I feel like. It didn't feel that... I thought, in fact, I was almost prepared that it was going to be more racist in that scene. Like,
majorly.
I
thought it was going to be
a positive shock for me, I guess, that it wasn't as racist as the title assumed, but then it was like, but then you didn't focus on what you say the episode's about? I don't know. I think they lost their touch after Mattress. After they named that episode
How do
Mattress.
they even decide on the episode titles? I mean, like, how did they come up with this? They come up with the title first and then right from there, and then they're like, well, we can't change it now, even though it didn't turn out that way.
Yeah. I'm trying to even think of like the alternate title for this would be like
something about Mercedes' plot, because that's really the main plot.
Yeah, hers was the biggest plot line.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
Spotlight.
Undervalued talent.
Something. I don't know. I don't come up with the episode names.
This was written by Ian Brennan, who is white. So
ooh.
Important to note.
Great.
Yeah, we're gonna start tracking that this season.
The actual writers. Yeah.
Yeah.
But at least he was equal, like equal with all the racistness. He was like, there was like a little bit of Asian, there was a little, and then we, the big white on white racism. And, casting Rachel Berry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As Maria. I like had to think about it. I'm like, wait a second. We have Dreamgirls, we have West Side Story, and then it's called Asian F. I'm like, oof, I am definitely uncomfortable a little bit. It's fine.
Honestly, guys, I'm gonna be really honest. This episode kind of impressed me with the value, not of like the content or like the racism in it, but like the actual structure of the episode is probably the best I've seen from Glee so far.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about it because it was just felt like being slapped with content.
I do think there was a lot of conflict, and so that made it an interesting episode to watch, where there was a lot going on, and what was happening was interesting.
Yes.
And
they were the storylines were generally evenly spaced. Like sometimes we get like one storyline and then like smatterings of things that don't matter at all. That's a typical Glee episode. I feel like all of these, there were maybe like 2 larger storylines and then like a smaller third one that sort of intertwined, and it just felt like a more even episode in the way that it was written.
So what are our storylines this week, Cullen?
So I figured we'll talk about Mercedes first, and then we have a Wemma storyline.
Gross.
And we have Mike Chang, and we have a Kurt and Rachel storyline, which is basically like several scenes kind of thrown together about the two of them.
I didn't count that one.
And they're frustrating.
So let's talk about Mercedes. The episode opens with booty camp.
I hate that they keep calling it booty camp. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Did they say why? Did I miss that?
It was the episode before that they introduced this, I think.
So this is rare for Glee, that they're carrying over something
Yes.
they did last episode into this new episode. So this is a valid question. They're doing a booty camp for people who aren't as good at dancing. And so basically Shu and Mike are teaching them how to dance. And there's only a certain number of people in there. Some people were not included because they're fine, I guess.
Yeah.
They don't need the practice because they're so good at it.
Yeah.
It was really intense in the beginning of the episode. I really thought Mercedes was in a dream because of how intense Will was.
Yeah.
He was all like, "You're not," like he like yelled at her, and I'm like, "Oh, she's gonna wake up," and she never did.
She never wakes up in this hellscape.
She lives in this hellscape.
It was very uncomfortable because they gave her, I think last time we talked about them giving her the laziness quality, and they did that again, except this time she's not being lazy. She like actually says, "I'm doing so many things, this is like,
Yeah.
I'm having a problem." And I felt very I don't know how to put it, like it was really awkward for me to see her labeled as lazy in the episode when we know she's not lazy, but they've done that before and like said that she was lazy. I'm not explaining myself very well. Do you know what I'm saying?
And like I thought the whole thing felt unwarranted. Like she didn't deserve any of the shit that she was getting.
No,
And
she did not.
It infuriated me.
Like dancing is hard. Like
Yeah.
and everyone's body is different, and like to force, you know, like Finn's body is different from Mercedes, and Brittany's and Mercedes, like they were, it's just crazy to be like everyone has to be equal in dancing, and that's what we're trying to do. It's like that's not going to happen so fast. And I think it was too much. It was too much.
I also don't think so. Like she was complaining about feeling sick. And that's a physical thing. Like you can't, and then she was just like, "No, you're not sick. Get over it." And I was like, "What? I don't understand what's happening."
Which touches a little bit on like the inequalities in healthcare for people of color. So like, you know, here you go. There's that. Okay, so what happens in this scene?
So Mercedes comes in and she's running late. She said, "I slept in late." And Quinn's like, "It's 4:30 in the afternoon." And she's like, "My alarm went off 30 minutes late and it set me back like throughout the day." And then Santana's there and they're like, "Why is Santana there?" And they're like, "She swore her allegiance back to Glee Club."
So she's back.
So I'm glad we kicked her out and brought her back for no reason, for literally no reason.
I like how it resolves in literally one sentence. Like, we're not going to explore it more. We're just going to make it a thing.
Yeah, she's like, "I swore my allegiance." And we're like, but okay. Oh, we're on something else. Cool.
That specific thing actually really bugs me. Just not because of them not explaining it, but because there's so much flack that's given to Mercedes, and then like that's
who has been dedicated to this club
since day one.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yep.
But she has been so dedicated. And Santana has repeatedly tried to sabotage the club. And last time she set a fucking piano on fire on school grounds.
Yep. Yeah. Just none of it makes sense. And so, yeah. So. Continue. Is that the end of the scene?
Well, they're dancing, and then Mercedes is like, "I feel sick. I think I have to throw up." And Will's like, "You don't feel sick." She's like, "I'm doing my best, Mr. Shu." he's like a shoulder devil. He's like lurking over her shoulder, and she's like, I sorry, like, I just didn't find time to eat. And Santana's like, eat when the rest of us do. And she's like you eat. And
that was insane. That was a crazy. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Shu lets them say whatever the fuck they want until it's like it serves the story for him to actually step in.
So then she feels shitty about herself. But
what I don't understand is like, okay, so the whole interaction between Santana and Mercedes, like, is this supposed to, what am I supposed to get from this? That Mercedes shouldn't be eating because Santana doesn't eat, or Santana should be eating and have a less, like, strict schedule, or like, what's happening? Is there anything that I'm supposed to get from that? I think
the only thing that we get from that is Mercedes is trying to work in meals, and she's like calling Santana out for the fact that like she probably starves herself because of the stuff that the Cheerios put her through. That's the only thing I got from it.
Right.
And
okay, so the thing is, Mercedes didn't eat the whole day, and the only time she had to eat was right before dance practice, and then that's why she felt like she was going to throw up.
I
so
think
people were giving her shit because she ate right before dance practice.
They're giving her shit for a lot of things.
Yeah.
But that's the excuse that they're giving shit for.
Yeah. As someone who had eating disorders brought on by extracurricular activities at school and high school, I love how Glee handles this.
They handle it so well, just so tenderly, with so much respect.
No, they don't.
That's sarcasm.
Wait a second. No. No, I mean, it's so crazy after not watching Glee for many, many years, to watching an episode randomly to be like, how did this fly so? And also, how did I not catch this? I mean, times have changed so much, and things are definitely like brought to light of like, you know, and so things are a little more sensitive, and we think about it more. But also, like, why didn't we think this back then? Because I don't know. I'm like, whoa, what is all of this?
Yeah. Yeah, no, we talk about that so much because it's just like it slaps you in the face and you're like, why didn't I see this before? Like,
I'm a bad person.
Yeah, it's like, am I terrible?
Have I grown? Because I hope I did. Yeah.
That's a test to see how many people have actually grown, is to have them watch an episode of Glee and point out all the problematic things.
They're like, there wasn't nothing wrong with this episode. I'm like, oh, well.
Oh, okay, cool. It's like, really, you don't want to start with the title?
I'm unfollowing you. Just kidding.
So after this, there's a scene in the lunchroom where Shane, Mercedes' boyfriend, watches Rachel and Mercedes hug. And then he's like, what are you doing? Why did you hug your competition? You think I hug somebody before I cleat them? And she's like, oh, Rachel and I are friends. It's different. And he's like, you guys are rivals. Everyone is saying Rachel's the one to beat. How come you don't realize you're the one to beat? You're better than her. And she's like, no one's ever told me that in my time at this school. And I'm like, we've told you that as a podcast, but you can't hear us.
True. Yeah, at first I was really confused. Like, it kind of felt like toxic personality type behavior where he was like staring them down, and then he was like, what are you doing? And it kind of evolved into something, you know, much more supportive, but it was very aggressive at first. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. But overall, like, in a way it did uplift her, but it sucks that like we always have men telling Mercedes how she feels. Like, Kurt's told her how she feels about like being single and being so lonely, and that she eats her feelings. And now like her boyfriend's being like, you are wrong, like Rachel's not your friend, you should feel like angry about how the fact that she's, you know, like, actually even Lauren Zeisey's told Mercedes how to feel. Be like, you should be a diva. Like, you know your value, you know your worth, you should demand it. So like, Mercedes really only gets spotlight when someone tells her how she's supposed to feel.
Yeah, it's really kind of unnerving, actually, because this whole scene, I was just like, First of all, what is cleating somebody? Is that like
Football
a term
terms.
that's normally used for football? I've never heard this before.
I don't know.
No,
I can
You're
go
asking
for
the
it.
wrong audience.
It's true.
I know cleats are the things you wear on your feet, the shoes, the sports shoes, and maybe cleating is like kicking someone with your sports shoes on during the football game. I have no curb stomping someone during a football game.
All right. So this is what Urban Dictionary says. To get stabbed, slashed, kicked, or in any other way harmed by someone's cleat. Joe got cleated in soccer, and it left an ugly bruise. By Rachel C.
Thanks, Rachel C.
Aha.
Thanks, Rachel C. Shout out to Rachel C, everybody.
So,
Yeah.
first of all,
So
does he cleat people on his team?
I can't imagine that he actually would do that, not on his team, but like to the opposing team.
Well, I don't know. He said he does, but like, I don't know. There's like, it's not a good allegory. It's not a good metaphor because he's playing someone on an opposing team, whereas Rachel and Mercedes are in the same group. They're going after the same position, I guess, but they're on the same team. And if Mercedes says they're friends and your boyfriend is like getting in between you and your friends, you need to dump him.
Yeah, also like he's literally pitting two women against each other, and we know how that like women
Not a
versus
fan.
women, it's the only way they can survive. But at least it's like woman versus woman in terms of like
Only the man said so.
a professional pursuit or a creative pursuit. It's not necessarily after a man.
I do think this whole episode has this thing where we want Mercedes to be more confident and to take her place as a star, but it also wraps it in with this toxic attitude of like, we're not friends, we're enemies. I'm better than other people. And that's Glee being gross. And Suki is shaking because she agrees with me.
Yeah. Well, I think is it the next scene where she has that song in the choir room with so like she does kind of pinpoint a lot of it at Shu in this case, and then also later on where she does actually kind of blame Shu. Well, actually no, she blames Rachel mostly,
but she
does
does
the
blame
camera
Shu.
angles. But yeah, so she kind of blames the fact that like Shu favors Rachel. So she's singing the song in the choir room, staring them down. And then when she goes to like kind of like she circles them and walks out, she's staring just at Rachel. So like she's cementing sort of that idea of like she's mad that Shu always favors her and just like lets her do whatever. And then also that like Rachel's she's either unaware of it or when she's aware of it, she just like doesn't care.
Yeah.
So
she sings Spotlight.
Yeah.
Not the movie, the song.
I haven't been watching it like all of the episodes. I just like jumped in and I almost feel like it was throughout the episode. I'm like, you know what? Mercedes does deserve more. Like, sure, it was like talks in the sense of like, you know, she was like, no, do this and stuff. But I think she really got fed up. And like, even towards the end, I almost had to think about it after watching it. I was like, when I first watched it back in 2012, when was this? Did I want Rachel to be Maria or did I want Mercedes? Like, what did I think then? Because right now, like, I agree with Mercedes in the sense of like, she probably is like taking all the low blows because of Rachel being the favorite one, you know? And I think she just was like, I am tired. And I almost think her actions were justified. Like, I'm okay with her actions because she has to make a point, and if she doesn't do that, no one will listen to her. And this is her putting her foot down.
Yeah, I agree. Because like we always talk about how Mercedes really only gets the spotlight in the show when her being fed up, get like when they actually showcase that, like that's just repetitive. Like we've gone through this story a couple times, and now like in this moment it's getting to a point where like no one believes her. Like literally no one believes her. No one thinks that she deserves it. Everyone thinks she's being mean, when like, yeah, it's really hard because like the show obviously wants you to root for Mercedes, but they still want you to root for Rachel because she's the female protagonist. But like, because Rachel is being really horrendous for a couple different reasons in this episode, like it makes it really hard for us to keep rooting for Rachel and Mercedes. So it's like, it's giving us that conflict, which is good, but I just think it's like this, we should have been over this already.
Right.
Well, do you think, okay, so here's like one of the problems I have with this episode, not necessarily the episode itself, but the lead up to the episode, in which like there isn't one. Every time we see Mercedes, she basically, like, she is one of the best singers, but she never gets acknowledged. And then the beginning of the third season, the writers are like, oh, guess what? Maybe we should acknowledge Mercedes and how good she is.
Again, like we've had this storyline at least twice before.
We had the Night of Neglect. We had when they had to audition before sectionals in season 1.
Why didn't those lead anywhere? Like, I want a build-up, not a, oh, here's a thing, and there's a thing, and here's another thing. Duh!
Because like what ends up happening...
I think so. I think it's like, well, realist, like in a producer's point of view, it's like she is the star, and so they probably like held on to that for so long and just remembered like, oh wait, we should probably showcase other talent as well. I don't know.
Yeah, no, like I think the problem with this specifically is that like we've already been over it, but Mercedes just kind of like let it go before, like it got resolved. But in this episode, like it's clearly not working toward that. Like we're clearly seeing that amp up. Like we're getting that build up now. And then it ends, you know, however. So yeah, so it's like, I think it's just the case of like they're an ensemble cast and they have so many storylines they want to balance, and they just have to they have to shove all the Mike Chang stuff into one episode too. Like they can't really let it carry over, which sucks. But like, but this one feels very very unwarranted. Like this, yeah. I hate Mr. Schuester.
Speaking of Mr. Schuester,
okay.
Oh, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say he's awful in this episode, especially to Mercedes. Like,
yes.
Yeah, no, I agree.
He's like pushing her so hard.
He's like, okay, I never thought I would compare him to an actual teacher, but he's like the teachers that you have that think that they're the only class that you take.
Yeah.
You guys remember those teachers?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mr. Schuester is then eating lunch with Emma and Beast, and they're like, we have a problem. We have 2 really good options for Maria. We have Rachel and Mercedes. Mercedes just really grew and transformed and matured in her audition. We think she'd be really good for the role, but then they call her the riskier choice.
Yeah, which I didn't understand. And also Beast was like, shoo, whatever you're doing, you know, pushing her to get better, you know, it's working. And I'm like, she was literally like emotionally and like verbally abusing her. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and he's all like, yeah, good for Mercedes, but all like, good for me because I'm the
he's like, I'm gonna pat myself on the back.
It was ridiculous. I immediately remember thinking he didn't do anything.
Yep.
That's what I remember thinking.
That's how he keeps his job. He tricks people into thinking that he's doing stuff.
Like a politician.
Yeah. There you go.
He was a politician. No, I did not like Shu at all in this episode. I really questioned a lot of like how I watched it before versus how I watched it now. Because I loved Glee. I was like, you know, we had after drama class or in drama club, we would talk about Glee. We would try to do the same things that Glee did. Like, it was so great. And I think, I mean, things have changed, but it was such a good eye opener back then. But now I guess, like, since our eyes are opening or have been so open, going back is like, what? Why? This is crazy. Yeah, she was like if I was a parent to Mercedes and Mercedes came to me about what she was doing, I would have been like really upset.
Yeah.
Sued the school.
The show has to constantly remind us that Shu is a good teacher or good mentor. Like that's what Beast was doing. She was acting as the show and being like, yeah, I remember he's good at his job, even though he just yelled at a student for being sick. Yeah.
He's become vocal adrenaline, which
yes, I thought about that too.
Yeah. So they're torn between Maria's, and he's like, well, you know what you got to do. And so they have their 27th annual tri-monthly diva off.
Yeah, I was going to say the 3-a-month diva off.
And Mercedes is like, what? You can't decide you can't decide, so you're having us audition again? And Rachel's all like, Maria's such an iconic role. It's called a callback. Maria's an iconic role. They can't look like they're just giving it to me.
Like, what a fucking dick thing to say. Like, I was so mad. Like, I get that's Rachel, but I'm like, you're being a bitch. Like, that's mean.
If I was the teachers in that situation, I would have been like, you know what? We're just going to go with Mercedes.
Yeah, that's like, it's like unprofessional. Like, Rachel needs to be a professional in this situation, even though she's a student. Like, you just should be. And like, that was just so unprofessional and gross.
It's annoying that the teachers, like Shu, Emma, and what's her name?
Beast.
Yeah, Beast. Wow, I can't believe I forgot that. It's annoying that like it almost felt like they were sighing at Mercedes and like supporting Rachel and like backing Rachel up, and it felt so gross. Yeah. I was like, you guys are being so biased right now.
Yeah.
And that's not how, I mean, I guess that is how casting works. Yikes. But like, it was unfair. Even when, yeah, they just made Mercedes feel like she was doing extra things when Mercedes wasn't. She was just like doing what was right for her and the fair thing to do.
It was because she stood up for herself, and they didn't really want to hear it. Like, they just wanted her to comply, just to go along with the process. But like, the process is never in her favor, so she's got to stand up.
Yeah, so they have so meanwhile at booty camp, Mercedes is struggling, and they're doing the Widowmaker, which is this really hard move. Brittany's there because she wants to dance her way into the voters' hearts, which we'll get to. And everyone's doing it, and then Finn and Mercedes are the last two, and Puck is like, he can't do it, and Finn's like, yeah, I can. And they show a convenient set of shots that doesn't show Finn doing the move, but they're like, he did it.
Exactly.
He just jumped around the circle, and they tapped him out. I was like, whoa. He did not do that.
I was like,
exact same
Show me
reaction
the
I
receipt. He probably can't get down and get back up because he's so lanky and just, he's one of those like advertisements in front of a car dealership.
I laughed out loud when they showed that. I was like, he didn't do it.
Half the people didn't
so
do it.
funny.
Puck didn't do it. Mercedes and Santana and Brittany were the only two I saw that actually did it.
Of all the people to show like a half-assed version of it, though, why Finn?
Yeah, remember last time he mastered dancing, right? After a 2-second pep talk.
Yeah.
Remember that?
It makes me wonder, like, how long Corey Monteith, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
How long he actually spent on trying to get these dances
I
down.
was actually hearing Zach Woodley, like from the Glee project, like shouting at them in the rehearsal room, being like, Corey, oh my God. And then just going like this, being like, Corey, stop.
Oh boy.
So then Mercedes is struggling, and she's like, did she say her ankle hurts or her stomach hurts?
Yeah, she said that her ankle
You
hurt.
might have said
and
both.
I think her stomach was still acting up too.
Yeah, and he's all like, you can do this. She's like, why are you always singling me out, making me look bad? He's like, I don't do that. And she's like, why isn't Rachel here? And Finn's like, Rachel practices every night. And she's like,
Shut
I
up,
didn't ask
Finn.
you, Finn.
Yeah, really.
And she's like, you give that ass kisser everything and you give me nothing and I'm tired of it. And she was like, what? And then she's like, I'm leaving. And she pushes a music stand over and he's like, you walk out of that door, you're out of Glee Club. And then we cut to a fantasy sequence of It's All Over from Dreamgirls.
Love that musical.
I've never seen it. I have never seen this song or this song performed or even heard it.
Well, then I have some interesting context that I would like to share. So she's singing this song, and the concept of the song is, in the musical, Effie is basically getting kicked out of the Dreamgirls group because she has been sidelined after being the main attraction. So Beyonce is becoming the lead singer of the group, and Effie doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want to be sidelined. So she's kind of like, she's standing up for herself and being like, this isn't fair. I've been here since day one. But then the other part of it is that, she's saying like, I've got pain. She's like holding her stomach. It's not because she's had a Quiznos 5 seconds before. It's because she's also pregnant. So that context in Glee made me very confused. Because I was like, are they also saying that Mercedes might be pregnant? Because like they literally have her touching her stomach and I'm like, what's going on here? So yeah, that I was obsessed with. But I was also very confused about, I'm glad that you called it a fantasy sequence because I couldn't tell what was meant to be like her imagination and what was meant to be like a representation of like the characters actually being in the sequence with her. Like were what they were saying basically like calling her out on a bunch of stuff that like for Mercedes really isn't super valid. Effie is kind of debatable, but like I couldn't tell if like that was her imagining them attacking her or if like that was them actually attacking her and like that's really what they believed. What's going on over there?
Suki wanted pets.
Oh.
You
have to do it.
Yeah, I have no choice. I watched the original sequence just so I could understand this sequence more. Because I haven't seen Dreamgirls either, but I was like, I need to understand this number. So I watched it and was like, okay, this makes sense. And then I thought about Glee and I'm like,
it doesn't make sense.
What? It was fun to see all their costumes and them all done up.
The production value of it was really great. And that's the thing is like, I didn't think that it was actually a number they were performing. I believed it was a fantasy sequence. So I wasn't freaking out at the production value of it. I was like, okay, this is in her head. That makes sense.
See, it's interesting because I didn't know what this was from. But I automatically knew that it was a fantasy sequence. Mm-hmm. And I was into it. I was like,
yeah,
listening for the dialogue because it was telling a story, which is something that I don't often do when Glee sings songs. I just sort of like go along with the song. It's got a good beat, but this one kind of had a story and it kind of fit in. And I wasn't too concerned with how it like connected with the episode because I didn't have any context for what it's supposed to be. So I actually kind of enjoyed it.
They wrote backwards. They wrote Mercedes' story backwards from this song. I can guarantee it. Because that song, it is literally just dialogue sung out, right?
Yeah.
So like, but the thing is like, I couldn't tell if like the characters, what they were saying was her interpreting what they're saying or if they actually believe those things and that's what they're saying to her. Because I could understand how Mercedes would take the things they say as like all of this kind of stuff. But if they actually said those things to her that like she's just been nothing but a pain this whole time, I would have been like, I call bullshit on that. Like Mercedes has been nothing but loyal to this group from day one. So like this doesn't make sense.
What?
Yeah.
It's just super confusing.
When did Mercedes say, like, I've outgrown all of you? Was that after the song or
That
before the
was
song?
before
Right
the song.
before.
Okay,
Yeah.
because if it was after the song, then it could have, I would think, like, oh, it's kind of like a mix of interpretation and, like, happening. But if it was before, I think it's maybe Mercedes' interpretation of how everyone feels about
I
her,
hope so.
you know?
Because I was about to call bullshit on everything they said. I was going to pull receipts and be like, okay, in episode 2, she did this. How dare you say that about her?
Maybe like maybe she was like, this is how she feels from these different characters. So these characters are mentally mentally saying these things to her in her head.
Yeah.
That's kind of the interpretation I went with. I do feel like they brought Santana back just so they could have someone say the meaner stuff.
Probably. Because, yeah, like there's really no one in that group who could say it. Because no one else is really like that.
Yeah. So after the number, in which Kurt has a bedazzled blazer.
Can we also quickly talk about, so once they kicked Santana out, they were down 2 people, right?
Yeah.
Then they brought Quinn in, so they were down 1 person. They brought Santana back. They had everyone. Now they're minus Mercedes. They're negative a person.
Yes.
Okay.
Talent-wise, they're negative 5 people, but we'll talk about that later.
Can I really quick just say, I did not even recognize Finn until he like started
dancing.
I want to say, well, kind of. He was in the suit and he started singing, and I was like, "Who is that? Oh my gosh, it's Finn!"
Yeah, he looked really
so
dapper.
much older.
Everyone looked really stunning.
Yeah,
Kurt's
I mean, he is an
jacket.
old person comparatively on the cast, but he
was like 32 or something.
He actually looks 32 in that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is when I texted Hannah and said I'm watching Glee and I'm dying.
That moment.
Yeah, that not when Finn necessarily appeared, but just that whole number, that whole song. Because like I hate when they put other people's names into songs, like characters from Glee.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for 45 minutes. I hated that.
God. This has nothing to do with Kurt, or you're just think you're
she
cool.
Literally started, Mr. Shu is supposed to love me. And I'm like, no, we're not going to say those words.
And she's like, you think you're special because you're knocking off that piece running for president, but she's common.
What I don't understand is why, if they're going to do that, why didn't they replace her name?
I was wondering that too.
Too many
Effie,
syllables?
Mercedes. Maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe.
But they did it, and I have to live with it.
We all do. We have to live with the consequences.
You either have to go 0% or 100%.
Yeah, that is weird for Glee to go like 75.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is something I kind of appreciated about this episode was it was totally bonkers. And I love when Glee is bonkers. That is something I love about season 3 is it's pretty bonkers. Yeah, that's why the TV show Reign on the CW is one of my favorite shows because it is bonkers.
How many times can you use the word bonkers?
Drink every time Cullen says bonkers.
Get drunk.
Was it on CW?
Yeah.
Oh. Wow. Why did I think it was like, I don't know.
I only knew it to be on Netflix because that's where my mom watched it.
My mom watched part of it too until she was like, there's too much magic.
Oh, yeah. My mom like watched it for a little while and then I think she just like decided she didn't want to watch it anymore.
Yeah. So after the number, everyone is gone and Mercedes is alone on stage and she's like, it's all over, which is weird because the problem was she was leaving before everyone else and then the song changed it. So now everyone is gone and she's just there.
Yeah.
She never walked out the door?
Then wouldn't she still be in Glee Club?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I didn't even think about the blocking of that. Yeah. So she's technically still in Glee Club.
Yep.
So yeah, maybe she is until the end.
Yeah, that's possible.
Maybe.
I just assumed that she had walked out and then came back, I guess.
I'd be like, it's
she
all
came
over.
back. She waited till everyone left and came back and had her fantasy sequence on stage.
We can Instagram her and see if she responds.
Yeah, but hey, we have a question.
What was the
Clarify?
exact lacking of this?
In season 3, episode 3, Asian F.
Asian F. That had very little to do with Asian Fs.
So then Mercedes and Rachel have their diva off, singing Out Here on My Own from Fame, both in black. Rachel looks like she's dressed for a funeral.
I thought
that too. Mercedes' dress, it kind of looked like a homecoming dress that I saw on Pinterest a couple weeks ago, actually. I don't know why it came up on my Pinterest, but it was just there because it had like the ruffles on the bottom. Mercedes looked great. Rachel looked like she was very sad and going to a funeral.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we had cut to like they had to flip heads or tails to see who would go first, and Rachel calls heads and gets heads, and Finn is on the sidelines, and he's like, yes.
They had like a game plan or something ahead of time.
Yeah.
But so it is important to note that Mercedes' boyfriend is on the other side of the stage with her, and Finn is with Rachel on the other side. So they're like, they have their respective partners with them.
Yeah, both girls are being supported by their boyfriends.
Yes.
High school.
So they so Rachel decides to let Mercedes go first, but the number is shot where it cuts to both of them singing, and Kurt is all like, we'll be talking about this forever, and Puck is like, screw West Side Story, this is a Clash of the Titans. And
I didn't think it was that exciting. Like, I wish they
wasn't
would have
that
picked a more exciting song.
Yeah, exactly. Also,
but I guess it was pretty Maria-ish though, because it's a bit more understated. Because Rachel was like, "Oh, I want to do
I Feel
Pretty,"
and they're like, "Rachel, we sung that song before. You can't do it."
Yeah, they're like, "No, stop it!" Like smacked her hand. But no, like they were basically like, they didn't want anyone to be on their like home turf, except the fact that like Rachel was like, "Oh yeah, I already know this," and Mercedes was like, "Oh yeah, I lived this." So like, but we don't know if Mercedes was really familiar. So like, Rachel could still have an advantage in that case.
Afterwards,
wait. Can we address the fact that Kurt said this is Clash of the Titans? It was Kurt, right?
Puck.
Puck said it was Clash of the Titans. This is the first time that it has ever been acknowledged that Mercedes is a Titan on the show.
Valid, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it was because he was referencing Mercedes, like her standing up for herself in booty camp the day before. Maybe that's when he realized.
Maybe.
I don't know. Can't explain it.
Yeah. And then they sing the song, and afterwards Rachel is all like, Finn is all like, "You were amazing," and she's like, "She was better than me." And then we'll get to what Rachel does later.
Which is, I feel like that's interesting because we don't actually see both of their performances, so we can't make that decision. We just have to go with what Rachel says.
Yes, and I guess if Rachel is confident enough in saying like she was better than me, then Mercedes must have been better. But like, I think I was more engaged by Mercedes' performance. I actually kind of felt like Rachel wasn't like emoting as much as she usually does, and
she wasn't crying. She wasn't Leah Michelle Squint crying.
She didn't
singing.
break down. Yeah, she wasn't like.
I think also because Mercedes' storyline in this episode was very like singled out. It felt more connected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so then afterwards they come to a decision and they bring them both in and they're like, we're going to double cast the show. And Rachel's like, that means, Mercedes will have the matinees and I'll get the evenings. And she's like, no, we're going to do 2 weekends and we'll have Rachel play Maria one weekend and Mercedes play Maria the other, and Mercedes is like, is any other role getting double cast? And they're like, no. And Mercedes gets up, she's like, congratulations, you got the part. And they're like, don't make this a dumb pride thing. And she's like, it's about pride, but it's not dumb.
I screamed when Artie said that. I was like, how dare you? Like, you're literally, like, it feels more like pity and also having to give Rachel the part. Like, it feels like they have to give her the part, and they're kind of like pitying Mercedes, that like,
Wait.
oh, like she went up against Rachel, so like we should also give it to her because she's really good too.
When did Rachel go to Beast and was like, we need to talk? That's my Rachel. What was that about? I have questions about that.
That was about the student election.
Yeah.
Is that after the scene?
Oh.
That was
right
after the
before
audition scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I was like, what?
That scene, yeah, I kind of blacked that out because I had no idea how that fit in either.
It's very subtle, and we can talk about it, but it took me a hot minute to figure that out. It was like, okay, what was that about? Like, I literally thought she was going to get like Mercedes like kicked out or something.
I thought she was gonna man up and be like, give it to Mercedes.
Oh, that's so nice. You thought so big of Rachel.
I know, I did. It's been a while.
Well, okay. I mean, honestly, that's kind of what I was thinking too. But then in this scene, so the scene that Cullen just outlined for us, when you missed a section where Mercedes stands up and she confronts Rachel and she's like, tell me, what was it? Tell me that
I was better than you.
Yeah.
Or tell me that you were better than me.
Yes, tell me you were better than me. And Rachel can't do it. Like, she can't do it. And I thought that she was going to be like, yes, Mercedes should have this part. She performed better than me. And she doesn't. And I'm just like...
You guys, I think, yeah.
But if Rachel can't say it, then why in the world did she get the part? Like, why did they decide to double cast it? None of this makes sense to me.
Because
well, Hannah, you were saying that they gave Mercedes the part as a pity part, but it almost feels opposite to me. Like they gave Rachel the part.
Yeah, no, I think that's more accurate. Is that like they gave it to her by default? Like Rachel's like, yeah, they gave it to me by default because Mercedes left. I'm like, no, I think they gave it to you default and also gave it to Mercedes because, like, yeah, I think they felt bad because they wanted to cast both because they didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings,
and
especially Rachel's.
I'm gonna have a hot take here. I think it was the right choice to double cast. I think they're both really talented. So if you had two of those powerhouse students in your show, why not take advantage of that and double cast instead of sidelining one? Which leads to the problem with a lot of musicals in that they only have one female lead and multiple male leads, which is like the nightmare of every high school because every high school tends to have like more female participants. Yeah, so...
Or you could just cast regardless of gender.
Yeah. No, I think that, like, in a logical world, double casting totally makes sense. And I just...
Unfortunately, we live in Glee.
Yeah. And so, like that's the thing is, like, when they said, like, double casting, I'm like, oh. And then, like, Mercedes started talking, and I was like, wait a second. No, she's totally right. Like, this is kind of bullshit in this instance.
Yeah, I think neither of them are Puerto Rican.
Yeah, I don't think either of them are Puerto Rican. Or at least Latinx in any form.
Yeah. But I do agree with the double casting choice. And I do think Mercedes was right to stand up for herself, but I do think she picked the wrong hill to die on, which is a Glee thing where you're going to finally make a point now, but this is your time to actually show how much of a star you are because you get to be Maria for a weekend.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. I believe in the principle of the thing. And I think that she ends up making a good point that, like, Rachel gets everything, even if someone gets half of what she has, but she gets everything.
Okay.
I don't know. The
have
principle of the
feelings.
thing is questionable.
I feel like I understand that the double casting is a good move, you know, in terms of, you know, just two powerhouses, but the fact that it wasn't intentionally a double cast audition is what hurts. You know what I mean?
People do that?
They made them compete against each other for a second time.
Yeah, like I mean, I've done productions with double cast, but that's you know, they wanted to just feature more people, and that's what they wanted to do. The production wanted to do, but like if I were auditioning and it wasn't supposed to be double cast, then it would feel like you just didn't want to let go of your star. That's it.
It feels like the principle of the thing is such a hard take because literally no one's dying here, right? So it is about Mercedes' pride, and so maybe it's
it's more about Mercedes' pride. I think it is about the fact that Rachel gets everything. Like that's not even a pride thing. That's a universal thing. Because Santana has problems with that too, and Tina
getting
has problems
everything
with that.
What?
With Rachel getting everything, yeah.
Getting all the solos.
And Kurt has problems with that.
Kurt has problems with it.
Everyone has problems with it.
Yeah, so it's like I think it's the principle of the thing. Like I think it's more that than Mercedes' pride. Like at least to me it is.
Pride
to Mercedes
is
they would
the
probably be
same
more about
thing. Is the principle of the thing. The principle of the thing is equatable to someone's pride.
Yeah, I wonder if we should make a poll for our listeners to be like, should they have double cast or not?
Oh boy.
Because I don't think we're gonna come to a consensus, but
yeah.
No, I mean I have my opinion on it. You guys have your opinions. But yeah.
So Mercedes quits the musical. She gives Rachel the part, and then during the final,
she presumably quits Glee Club, at least if not before now.
And then in the final number, she goes into Shelby's office and is like, "Hey, I heard you're starting a new singing group, and you're gonna need some star power, so I'm here."
I know what this leads to, and I knew what this episode led to. This moment. And I'm very excited about a potential number that may or may not be happening in a few episodes.
Wow, I'm may or may not be excited for that.
I don't know, actually. I don't know how you're going to feel about it.
I was so excited when Mercedes went in there and was like, I'm your star. I was rooting for her. I really am glad that she is stepping up and may get the recognition she deserves finally.
Yes. And I also like kind of coming back to Rachel, that like I can root for Mercedes because she's standing up for herself and you know she's trying to get recognition, and it makes it almost impossible for me to root for Rachel now because she was one of the reasons that forced Mercedes to do this, to quit Glee, quit the play. And
well, not only that, but Rachel used to be the underdog. She's not the underdog anymore.
She's not she hasn't been the underdog for a very long time.
No.
Ever since she got Finn, she was no longer an underdog, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that like this is all it's her own fault that she needs this production to get into college because she did not have the logical foresight that in a real world she would have to actually have other credits and experience under her belt. So like I kind of don't feel bad for her at all, like if she hadn't gotten cast, you know, like this is like it's her own fault.
Yeah.
So
I love how the show has
her.
pitted its two female leads against each other, so we have to now choose sides.
Okay.
Yeah, isn't that great?
I don't like how they're pitted against each other, but I would not say that Mercedes is a female lead.
I think, yeah, I would say she's probably like number 4.
Mm-hmm.
So there's Rachel, Quinn, Santana, maybe Brittany, then
Brittany
Mercedes.
gets more screen time than Mercedes.
And then Tina sometimes isn't even on the list because they forget.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Tina Cohen Chang. We will get to
R.I.P.
her.
her stutter.
R.I.P. her stutter.
It returns. It's mentioned again.
It's mentioned briefly in memoriam.
So let's quickly go through the Wemma storyline.
Okay, good. Get it over with.
So Will finds a bunch of bridal magazines stowed away in their apartment, and he's like, I look forward to marriage and many other milestones with you, implying sex. And then he's like, I'll show you my stash. And he hands her his collection of what we assume are porn magazines. He's like, these kept me off
another subtle reference to his penis.
And he's like, these kept me off of Craigslist.
What does that mean?
Like, the personal ads on Craigslist were like searching for.
Okay, that's what I thought. But then I was like, or did he mean like the real kinky Craigslist? I couldn't. Probably both.
Is he the Craigslist killer?
Grindr?
Is he like the? Was he gonna?
Was
be
he
the
in
one
Boston in
answering
20
ads,
whatever?
or was he gonna be the one placing ads?
It would be.
Maybe both, and maybe for the really kinky stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get to see what mags were in there. It could have been just like some real like intense stuff.
Teen vomit fetishist Will Schuster.
Can we also like just take a glance at the fact that Glee equates wedding magazines on the same level as porn?
Well, that's what a guy's stash is as opposed to a woman's stash. Yeah,
yes, exactly.
Yeah, Glee, what are you doing here?
Men want sex, women want marriage. Don't you know this?
Oh, you're so right. You're right.
Apparently having wedding magazines is like, I don't know, is that bad? Like, women aren't supposed to be thinking about marriage? Anyone's
not that
be thinking about marriage? I don't get it. Like,
it is really just what like Cullen said, is the literal like men are only supposed to think about sex and women are only supposed to think about marriage and weddings, and that's kind of fucking me up. That's actually oddly clever of them to point out, but it's also like really gross.
yeah. But also she has to keep it a secret.
Yeah, she was trying to blame it on Terry, and I actually kind of bought into it for a second. I was like, oh yeah, Terry would be like that. That's insane. And I'm like, oh no, it's Emma's. Well, okay, that also makes sense.
Because there was a signed photo of Vera Wang that says always marry up. Which is hilarious because Emma's not doing
She's marrying very down if she's going to marry Shu.
And so then he's like, well, why haven't I met your parents? And she's like, they're dead. He's like, you talked to them on the phone last night. And this is one of my favorite lines on Glee, where she's like, they're ghosts. They're ghosts. I have ghost parents. I think of that all the time.
Funny. That was really funny.
And she's like, okay, I can't lie to you. But I just don't think it's the right time. I want to take things slow, and I don't think it's the right time to meet my parents yet. And she runs off assuming her partner will respect a decision she's made, and she assumes wrong,
because she should know better. This is Will Schuster. He doesn't follow boundaries. He doesn't know what no means.
Literally Mercedes.
I was actually invested in this plot line.
Really?
Yes, I was. I think it was Emma's ghost parents that got me invested.
That got it. You're like, oh my god, is it going to be Casper? I was not invested, and every time it disappeared from screen and then appeared again, I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
This felt to me like this plot line feels like a sitcom plot line that would happen between two people who were dating on a sitcom.
Yeah. It does.
Mm-hmm.
So, Shelby and Beast are eating lunch together in the. Yes,
I know, Suki. She ate a lot of pasta. I felt really bad for the actor having to shovel all that pasta into her gullet.
And I was like, I hope they did this in one take.
Yeah, I do too. I was like, please tell me it was one take.
More than 3, that would be insane.
Ugh. Too much pasta.
Lots of pasta.
Yeah, and so Shelby's like, Beast is like, how come no one wants to join your fancy singing group? And she's like, I guess if I was a girl in this school, I would choose to join the New Directions. And
Why? I don't understand that.
Well, because there's more people. Like if I was going to join a singing group, I'd join the one with more people.
I would
Think.
definitely not join the one with Sugar Mata.
Which is the one she's coaching.
Yep.
I actually thought that she was referencing the fact that Shu was the leader.
Oh, you're saying
She has, like, she would be like, oh, if I was a
attracted.
girl, yes.
Oh.
And I think she's also still kind of attracted to him. She does a weird, like, side pops out her chest kind of move around him when he comes into the lunchroom. It was very odd.
It's interesting because that might be the way the writers intended it. I just happen to really dislike Sugar Mata.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't know. That's why I asked, because, like, that's what I thought, but then I was like, maybe I'm reading into that.
Yeah, I read it as kids would join the one with more people because they want friends.
That's
I read it
The
as
difference
like
between you and I.
New Direction just being already so established and like
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've
Like
got a thing going.
yeah, like they're literally the school's Glee club. Like, you know, it's like starting a new group is always like a little hard. Then you have to get more people, so it's like just easier and less of a
Yeah. So Shelby walks by and she does walk by Will and do a little smile thing because she's like, enjoy your gross creamy pasta to Beast. And I'm like, don't insult a woman's lunch or
Yeah,
anyone's
really.
lunch, but like,
yeah, rude.
yeah, I'm like,
Not gonna
okay.
lie, like that pasta kind of looked delicious. It's just like it was too much.
Yeah, it was like super yummy Alfredo. I love Alfredo.
I do.
Yeah.
And I want Alfredo right now.
No, the only thing was like she was eating it from the tins that you order when you're getting food for a lot of people.
But she
the
took, so she
catering
had
tins.
the Carringtons on the side. She had dumped it into a bowl that looked
I know.
like an end of a watermelon, and it was like, why do that? Just eat it out of the tin.
I
Like,
know, just eat it out of the catering tin. That way you
I've
won't
done
have to
that
do
before.
dishes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Will comes in and is talking to her. And he's like, I don't know, I just wish Emma was proud of me. I know I'm not a dentist like Carl and I don't make all this money. And Beast is like, you're everything an in-law could ask for. And he's like, really? And she's like, yeah, you bet your sweet Bippy.
Whatever that means.
Does anyone know what that means?
No, but I loved it.
Like your sweet butt,
Tush?
but she said Bippy.
No idea.
I enjoyed that. I noted that in my brain. I'm like, Bippy.
And she's like, I'm carbo loading. You've got me. I'm running football. I'm running student council elections. I'm running the musical.
That was the
like,
keynote that she said, that I'm running the student class elections. That is the
Oh.
tiny clue that led me to like understand why Rachel ran to her in the first place.
It is not a big enough clue, in my opinion.
It is not. I agree. I just happened to remember that and be like, that's a weird thing to say. And then I just like recalled it later on.
And so she's like, take the bull by the horns and introduce yourself. And Will's like, I
Bad
will.
advice.
Bad advice from Beast.
Oh no, Beast.
And so Emma shows up at their apartment and there's dinner laid out. And she's like, oh, are we having a romantic dinner? And he's like, kind of. I invited your parents over.
With 2 other people. There was definitely 4 plates.
Yeah, 4 place settings.
And he's like, yeah, I invited your parents. And it turns and she's like, okay, I'll come say hi in a minute. And she storms off and she's like, we need to get them to leave. I could pretend I have an ovarian cyst burst. That works all the time. And he's like, are you ashamed of me? Why do you want them to leave? And she's like, no, I'm ashamed
not
of them.
everything is not everything about you. Like,
yeah, he just assumes it's all about him. And she's like, no, I'm ashamed of them. And he's like, why? And she's like, my parents are ginger supremacists.
Which could not have called even if I had tried. I don't remember this. I was stunned. And as we'll get into the conversation, I further was just like mouth agape. Just like, is this actually 2020? What is going on?
Is timely humor. It aged well.
Timeless. This was
Timeless.
like 8 years ago. Like, yeah. How? What? Wow. Okay.
Is that real?
A ginger supremacist?
Like, I don't mean they had it.
I mean, I think, well, it really does devolve into the fact that they are just like white supremacists. But like, yeah, I guess like you could be a supremacist about literally anything. I'm sure there's supremacists about like types of beer supremacists. I'm looking at things in my closet trying to figure out something to say. But yeah, like at first I was like, oh, that's funny, and then I'm like, this isn't funny. Mm-mm.
I thought it was hilarious. I think it's mostly because gingers are like not common and people say so many bad things about them.
True.
Like they don't have souls. You don't have a soul, Cullen. Did you know that?
Soul. I don't.
You don't have
I'm a
soul.
minority. I'm in Glee Club.
That and like, so I found it funny that it's like a play on white supremacy, specifically about gingers, and they're like, it's a recessive trait. Like, if we're not careful, there's not going to be more gingers left. And I was like, I'm laughing, and then I'm like, am I laughing because I think it's funny, or is it because it's uncomfortable? I think it was a lot of things.
Well, because that ties into white supremacy, because a lot of white supremacists are like, if we're not careful, there won't be any white people left.
Which, okay, like, they're right. White people are eventually not going to be a thing, but who cares?
They do.
I know. I think that's why I just find it really funny because people, maybe it's because I find the idea so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's so yeah,
it would happen in
supremacists.
like evolutionarily speaking, it would happen in like how many years? Like 1 million years or something? I don't even know.
I felt like it was it was funny, and then it was also a little like, let's tackle a little bit of racism, but like not too much. So let's do white on white racism and teach through that way.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
But and it was almost,
and
that
we're gonna put it in an episode called Asian F.
Yeah, it was like that much more ridiculous because the entire episode is so racist.
Glee is confounding as always.
It's bonkers. This episode was bonkers.
Take a drink.
Take a drink.
Drink attack.
Gosh.
Reference to Drunk Disney.
I've been binge watching that.
I should feel more bad for white people because there is white on white racism, and that's not fair.
Aw, thanks.
Thank you.
Guys, I'm sorry. I'm wrong.
That's just what Ryan Murphy wants you to think.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're all like talking about how they feel more comfortable at the Red Oaks, which is an all gingers country club, and that oh, there must be some red hair in Will's family tree. He's German. He's practically a Viking. You see Emma start to clean the knife. So you see this is where some of her OCD comes from, and we get a flashback to them being at a restaurant, which is breadsticks. They're at breadsticks.
And her mother keeps calling her Freaky Deaky as like a nickname. And you can tell it really upsets her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would upset anyone, but like are people's parents really like this, or is this a Glee thing? Like, I can never tell anymore. It's like
I think it depends on your parents.
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, are people's parents actually like this? Like,
probably.
I can't.
I'm just like, I'm not naive enough to think that everybody's family is perfect like my family. No, I'm just kidding. My family's not perfect, but we are pretty close.
But we're very adjacent.
Exactly.
Here's close. Here's Alyssa's family.
Like, you can't even tell that they're like off a little bit.
Yeah. I just like, I think it's one of those things where like, same thing with like Quinn's parents. We first met her parents. I was like, how much rooted in the real world is this? Like, I have to like remember that like this even happens in the real world, not just the Glee world. And so like things like obviously like her parents got like triggering her OCD. I'm like, that's something that I've experienced. But like,
I want to say like the sad truth is they meant for this to be way over the top, but there's someone somewhere with those parents.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That person emailed Glee and was like, I did not like this. This was very rude
I feel
to me."
called out.
And because it shows them at breadsticks, and they're like, "Oh, hi, amigo. You're not our usual waitress," and they make Emma clean off her like cup and everything.
Yeah.
And you see that's where she gets it.
That was really
at least she didn't get the racist part of it.
Yeah.
That was. But didn't she get OCD from falling into like
cow manure?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what
so I wonder where
was.
that happened
on the timeline.
Yeah. I want to see that.
It wasn't a red cow.
And they're like, we used to tie her fingers with twine and she would chew right through it.
That's like, that
horrific.
Is some
abuse.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God.
So they would like tie her thumbs like this, so she would just literally be like this and she would just be chewing through it.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Kidnapped?
Like, you don't tie people's thumbs together when they're your children. Like, your parents are supposed to be there to protect you. That's not protection. That's abuse. It was horrific.
Yeah. And the dad's like, I think it's cute. And the mom's like, I think it's weird. And Will is like, has anyone ever told you that you're a little racist? I'm the first one to tell you this. I'm the champion of racism. And if I had a child with OCD, I would maybe show compassion, not call her mean names. And they're like,
let's just
these
show the
beans
receipts.
are a disaster. And they're like, these beans are what happens when you sit down an election.
And then she said there were no ginger candidates.
Yeah.
So let's just like go back. Let's go through the receipts. Shu, what happened when you decided that you want Emma to be cured of her OCD? Oh yeah, you like threatened her with unclean fruit and you like shoved it in her face and like tried to force it upon her. That was not compassionate.
No.
But he didn't tie her thumbs together.
That's true. Is that the level? Compassion is as long as you don't tie her thumbs together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was so annoyed by him. And this whole thing that like, I feel like if they had been told they were racist, they literally would have been like, we're fucking leaving. Like, yeah. I can't imagine they would actually stay. They would be like, no, we're not. You're blah, 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 and they would have fucking left. Yeah. Like, they would not have stayed.
That's why I'm saying, like,
someone calls me a racist, I leave.
Yeah, there you go. This plotline in this episode feels like an external sitcom.
Like a different show?
I already said this. Yeah, like, if you take it and just remove it from this entire storyline, Shu then turns into, like, a fairly normal, decent human being who is surprised by what could become his in-laws and how terrible they are. Like, that's what it feels like to me.
It feels like a totally different show. I kind of feel like, how is this even, like, what does this do for their relationship? I don't even know. Like, what is the purpose? So that Shu knows that not everything is about him. Sometimes people are ashamed to introduce their parents to their significant others. Like,
it's like he learns to respect her boundaries.
But he doesn't learn.
Well, that's what is supposed to happen in this alternate show.
I literally had forgotten what else happened. I thought this was the end of the storyline, and then I was like, oh no, there was that weird praying scene. And he's saying,
which is what next?
He's saying Coldplay, and I was like, ugh.
So Emma is like rubbing her hands, and he's like, hey, Emma. And she's like, now I lost count. And then he like grabs her arms, and it's like, calm down, let's go to bed. And then she gets on her knees and he's like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm praying. I do it in my head all the time, but I know God hears me better when I'm on my knees. Something about the acoustics of the linoleum.
Which I love.
That was funny.
I like that a lot.
What if you have hardwood floors? Or carpet?
It would have made more sense if she had like a special praying hat that like would like help extend the thoughts. Yeah, let's just like quickly talk about her nightgown. Bright yellow lace, not going to be very comfortable to sleep in. She looked like a Victorian child. It was the only thing I noticed. I forgot there was a scene happening.
You're like, way after rewind, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on? I was like, I've seen her sitting on the bed in this dress. I saw her stand up briefly, and then I saw her kneeling. Okay, there was stuff happening. I got to go back.
And then Will is on his knees too, and he's like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And he's like, but I promise I'll be there for you. And then he sings Coldplay's Fix You.
I'm the only person who skipped it, yikes.
No, I wanted to skip it, but then there was like flashes of other things happening, and I had to go back and start the song so I didn't miss anything.
You went all the way back to the nightgown just to be like,
I did. I had to sing it for a
right?
third time.
And he sings Coldplay.
Wait, am I the only person that likes that song? I like that song.
It's about Goop.
I think I didn't like him.
Oh, it is. Is it?
Yeah. It's about Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, yeah, because they were married. I forgot about that.
I suddenly like it less when I know that it's about somebody.
I mean, when you like find out that, okay. So, because like almost every song is about someone, or at least something.
Yeah, but I don't need to know that. Makes it less personal for me.
That's true, because then you're like, oh, it's about this person. No, it's about this person
suddenly
that I
don't.
know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. I like that. You just like immediately disconnect from a song when you find out who it's really about.
Can't handle
you
it.
can't really listen to a Taylor Swift album. You can't do that.
No, I can listen to it. I just don't. Yeah, I don't want to know the gossip. Exactly.
You're like, Cullen, don't tell me which person this is about.
I don't want to know. I just want the music.
Because then you think about yourself in that relationship with that person. You're like, oh, remember when I dated Harry Styles? No,
remember when I dated John
Mayer. I just know now.
Anyway.
Yeah. So he sings Fix You, which I think is a very condescending song.
I agree. I don't. When fixing people, yeah.
This is a bad episode for Shio.
It's one of his better episodes, which is taking me out a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, on a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
No. I used to love him so much. I mean, I'm sure I love moments of him.
Like the thong song.
I was just going to say, I can't think of a single moment. And the thong song is at the top of the list of things that I hate. Right next to everything acapellas.
Yep.
Oh, God.
Honestly, though, this scene, if it's in our alternate show, was pretty sweet. It was cute. Because I don't know, maybe this is like a Christian show. And she's like, I don't know how to pray. And he's like, I don't know either, but I'm going to support you. It was just kind of a sweet moment.
Or if she was the Christian, he was the agnostic or whatever, and he was like, I don't know how to do this, but I'm gonna be here on my knees with you, really taking advantage of the acoustics down here.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Double down.
Like, if you just look at it, not in the context of Glee,
it's a sweet, a sweet thought. Yeah, for sure. I can agree with that.
Yeah.
I think he just started singing.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, why'd you ruin this cute moment?
Yeah, and they're all dressed in white. It was a callback, I felt like, to Keep Holding On, another song where they're all dressed in white.
Oh, right, because they end the song. So he starts the song kneeling.
Why was he singing with them? What are they preparing for? Or is he just like, guys, I really need to sing
I think
Coldplay's
it's just
Fix
a
You for the
fantasy.
800th time.
I think
You
it's
do
just
it.
a
Everyone get
fantasy
out your
scene.
white shirt. You think so? You think he
Mhm.
fantasizes about his singing with his students?
I think it was a moment of everyone in their like seeing what everyone was feeling and
So,
how they need to be fixed. What needs to be
Okay.
fixed in
Like
everyone's life.
like a mass
Because
hallucination.
Rachel looked very guilty.
yes, she
did.
Didn't
did.
she looked guilty.
She looked up at Finn and Kurt.
She has every right to be.
Mhm.
Mercedes wasn't in it. I was like, nope, Mercedes not there.
Oh.
She's out of the Glee Club.
So I have Glee Club.
Yeah, it
So-
felt like this was one of those bonkers scenes. Like,
Drink.
like it's a fantasy scene, but I don't necessarily think it was Shu's fantasy. Like
It's a
it doesn't.
collective fantasy.
It's more like
It's a
it
mass
didn't
hallucination.
actually happen in the world, but it is an extension of everyone's emotions.
Maybe it's like Glee Purgatory.
There we go.
Which they all are.
They're being
at all
forced to
times.
sing Coldplay's Fix You. I believe that.
They all have a subconscious, and it's called Glee Purgatory, and they all pop in and out.
That's actually a really good, that's a good headcanon. I like that.
So let's get to the Asian F storyline. Mike Chang.
Which maybe in total is 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Yeah,
more
we
like
could probably
7.
speed run this.
I thought. Sorry, you go.
So we open with they're in Principal Figgy Fig's office, Mike Chang and his dad, and Principal Figgy Fig is like, how come you want me to drug test your son every day? That's excessive. He's a football star. He can bust a serious move. And he's like, he got an A- in chemistry. And the dad himself says that is an Asian F, which I remembered Tina saying, but I did not remember the dad saying. And he's like, that's unacceptable. My grandmother only knew through 3 English phrases: Coca-Cola, eat those grits or something, and
Kiss my grits.
and Harvard University. And that's where he belongs. And this is unacceptable. So he's either on drugs or something's wrong. Maybe it's his girlfriend Tina, and Principal Figgy Fig is like,
he gets into this. He like attacks Tina's vampirism again, even though clearly she's not a vampire, but she plays it up, and I still love that about her.
Okay, this scene reminded me of 2 things I forgot. Number 1, Mike is a football player. Number 2,
Right.
Tina is a vampire. Both of those things I completely forgot about.
Also, quickly, when Tina like does her thing to like threaten him again, what is it? She's like, "Get me out of gym class" or something, right?
yeah.
I'm pretty sure she refers to Figgins' spicy curry blood. I wrote that down.
I
Mhm.
remember that and being like,
And I was like,
yikes.
Whoa.
what? Is this Asian on Asian racism?
We got white on white. We got Asian on Asian.
We got it all. It's
We
Glee,
got that
baby.
all. We're talking about it all, everybody. Get uncomfortable with us. It's Glee.
Yeah, and so Figgy Fig agrees with Mike Chang Sr. that Tina is a bad influence and her vampire ways have no place at this school. And Mike's like, he's like, you should quit that Glee club. Like, our counselor said that will do nothing for your transcript. They say it may even be a detriment. And Mike is like, no, I'll get a chemistry tutor. I'll pay for it myself. I'll do anything, Dad. I promise. And that is the opening scene where we first meet Mike Chang's dad. More than we've met of Rachel's parents.
Yep.
Oh, that's the only scene we see him in, right?
We see him in the Vision dance scene.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so okay, so is he trying to fight to not have to break up with Tina? Is that what he's really doing this for?
That, and he
Or is
doesn't want to quit the
doing
Glee
it-
club.
Okay.
It's both.
Because yeah, I focused so much on Tina because I was like, man, like really, they have to blame a woman for all this, really? Come on. Like, clearly this kid is just overwhelmed with everything he has to do.
Yeah.
Like, because he's in so much.
Yeah. And it's like the stereotype is that, like, even if it's still what we would consider a positive grade because his family's Asian, that's not good enough.
Okay,
Right.
like, is an Asian F a thing? Like, this is, like I was talking about earlier, like, is this a real world thing, or is this Glee's extension of a stereotype? Like,
Well, as a ASEAN, Asian, I don't think. I mean, my parents always just were just like, you need to get A's, you need to get A's, you need to get good grades. Like, you just need them. If you don't, you can't do extracurriculars, you can't do anything. School comes first. And I've never heard of an Asian F. I think I understood it when they were like, an A- is an Asian F. I like laughed. I was like, oh yeah, that, like, I get that. I would, like, that's funny, but like, I don't think it's like a real thing. I think Asians do just push their kids to have the best grades, if not 100%. Like, like,
right.
so in a way, it is real. I feel like whenever Asians talk about how they needed to get A's all the time, I get a little like, well, my parents did push me, but I had to push myself more so I could get what I wanted, which was like to do extracurriculars and like play tennis and all these things. It was a thing. But now I think about it, I'm like, maybe my parents weren't as Asian American parents as they would. But also in China, I learned this year. My best friend is working in China right now as a teacher, English teacher. It is strict there. In China, the kids need to have really good grades, and this is sad, but teenagers would commit suicide over grades, or like if their parents really are not proud of them for their grades. Like, that's a thing. So maybe that's where it comes from, that like Asian culture is just like, you need to be smart so that you can go work in another country to like, yeah, so maybe that's it, now that I think about it.
I mean, it's not only China, and I'm definitely not Asian, but from watching Asian media, I can tell that academics are definitely more important than a lot of Americans consider them.
Yeah. So I guess it's rooted in reality, and it's sort of like an extension of that then.
Well, I mean, stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason.
Right.
But it's not like Glee obviously like exaggerates that even more.
Yeah.
Glee loves them a good stereotype.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They love using it, and then in the same sentence also being like, what? That's a stereotype, but then still using it negatively.
There were no stereotypes, there would be no Glee.
That's actually 100% accurate.
Yeah.
I was just thinking throughout this talk, is like, wait, if there was no music to the show, I don't think the show would be very good at all.
That's a great point.
I don't know if you guys have talked about it, but I don't think the show would have survived without music.
I actually don't think we have talked about it.
Mm-mm.
But like, if this show like didn't incorporate music, I don't know if it would have been as popular. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Interesting.
How bonkers. Drink. As I
All right. So then Coach Beast is telling all the football players that they have to dance in West Side Story unless they're excused. Finn is like, oh, I have an excuse. You have to work in the tire shop. And they all look to Mike to kind of teach them how to dance. And he's like stressed. You can just see the stress on his face. He's like zoning in and out of the meeting. And then she's talking with Tina is like, are you ready for singing practice? Are you ready to audition for Riff? He's the perfect role. He sings, he dances, he dies. It's the perfect role for you. And he's like, I don't know if I can audition for the musical. My dad's really on me because I got an A-. And she's like, you got an Asian F? And then she's like, you just need to be honest with him. And he's like, look, you were so honest about your stutter. And then she just She just takes it, and she's just like, fair point.
And I'm like, okay, I don't think that's like the same thing at all, but okay.
It's not.
I think it was just stressed, and he wanted to lash out some way.
That, and I think the show was like, hey, you remember when she had a stutter? Okay, moving on.
Like, it's not the same thing at all, because Tina was lying to everyone, but I'm pretty sure her parents didn't know that she had a stutter, right. And he's lying to his parents.
Or fake stutter.
So, like, there's a difference between lying to the people who you're supposed to be closest with, your family, and lying to everyone else. Everyone lies to everyone else. We all do it. We all have masks. Tina's was just a little bit more pronounced. But lying to your parents, that takes some real guts. Unless you're not very close with your parents, and then it's pretty easy.
Thank you for coming to Alyssa's TED Talk. So then Mike is on his way to the chemistry tutor. He's like, I'm sorry, Dad. I'm sorry for letting you down. And he looks and he sees the dancing room. And he's like, lured in. And he takes his shirt off.
They're reminding us they have a dancing room.
Yeah. We haven't seen it since the erotic.
They have a full fucking dance studio in the school where they have very little money.
There's a lot of reminders this episode.
And so he like unbuttons his shirt and does a little dance number. He does like a Footloose Dance My Feelings Out.
Yeah. I thought that too. I was like, ah. It was also interpretive too, because we're cutting in and out of like fantasy sequences where he's like interacting with other people, but then they're not there, which I thought was really, really cool. I really liked the whole sequence.
I got that his dad wasn't there, but then I thought Tina was actually there, and then she wasn't there, and I freaked out. I was like, oh no! She didn't actually say all those really nice things.
Yeah. Which, like, if you imagine them, then, like, it's clearly stuff they've talked about before, which is great. Mm-hmm. She's super supportive.
Yeah, because his dad is all like, dancing is not a career, it's just a hobby. What if you get injured? And then he sees a vision of Tina, and she's all like, you're so happy when you dance, and I fell in love with you watching you dance. And he hugs her, and then he like realizes it's just a vision. And then he goes and he's gonna audition for West Side Story. So we cut to Emma and Beast and Artie waiting for him. And Artie says, Mike Chang. Then he's like, that kid's never late. He runs like an finely crafted Swiss watch, reproduced cheaply in China.
Asian F.
I actually don't remember that line. The funny thing, I remember the finely tuned Swiss watch. I don't remember the reproduced in China.
Oh, really? That's the part I latched on to. I was like, oh, interesting. Okay, Artie, you suck again.
I feel like everything you said in this episode, I kind of like didn't care for. Like, I was like, what is Artie doing here? Why do we care?
Yeah.
That's Hannah's Glee boyfriend.
Yay, I'm so proud.
And so then he runs on and he's like, I'm here to audition for Riff. And Emma says something. She's like, you know, that's more than just a dancing part, that's a singing part. And he's like, yeah, I've been working on my singing. And I just wanted to be like, a high school production will take anyone who auditions. If someone could dance
pretending.
If someone could dance as well as Mike dances, you would take him even if he couldn't sing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe I'm just thinking from my Midwestern, like, we're pulling everyone we can, high school.
This is in the Midwest, so that's totally valid. Like, the school is either a normal size school in which they do need everyone, like all hands on deck, or it's filled with 80,000 students and they can be picky. But I'm pretty sure it's the former.
Yeah. But he's like, yeah, I've been working on my singing. So he does Cool from West Side Story. He has all the football players come out and dance with him. And then afterwards, Beast is like, that was really amazing. I hope you didn't waste too much of your time teaching them to dance. And he's like, it's what I love to do. It's not a waste of my time.
It was a very questionable line from Beast, in my opinion.
Yes.
She would never, ever say that was a waste of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially since she's the one who said that the football players needed to be there and know how to dance.
Which makes me think of a hilarious line B said earlier that we forgot to mention. When they were talking about the double casting, she's like, this is one of the hardest decisions of my life. And it cuts to Emma being kind of like, and then Beast is like, and I had to give up one of my 2 donkeys because I couldn't pay my gas bill. I gave up Kim, but I kept Chloe.
I was like, oh my God, she named her donkeys after the Kardashians.
I loved Beast this episode.
Yeah, so I also thought that was weird that she pointed that out. She was like, oh, I hope this isn't going to take up too much of your time. But also, this is the second time that someone's auditioned with other people on stage. Like Mercedes had backup singers, and Mike had all these backup dancers. And I'm like, is this a thing you can do when you audition? What is going on? That. Like, I'm pretty sure you just auditioned by yourself. This feels a little weird.
Yeah. Yep, that's weird.
I mean, I'm sure it was part fantasy, but yeah, I remember watching and be like, man, I wish I had this production of an audition. I would get the roles. Or they would hire everyone but me, which it's fine. All right.
He doesn't have a bad singing voice.
No, that's what was shocking, is like, was he actually bad at singing, or did they make him bad at singing earlier seasons? And like that was just one of his character traits. Yeah. Because like, yeah, I thought he sounded pretty good.
Unless he lip synced to somebody else's singing.
Or he really worked on his singing.
Or he did really work on it, yeah. I didn't care for the lip singing of it. I thought it was a bit off and a bit much at sometimes. But the number itself was very cool.
I mean, they always lip sync, so.
Yeah.
Some are just better than others, I think.
And then, so then we see Mike practicing dancing in some suspenders. And his mom comes in and is all like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm just warming up for football. She's like, how can you look me in the face and lie to me? And she's like, you missed your chemistry tutor. They called me and I covered for you to your father. So now I'm a liar too. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I also can't believe we're seeing both of this character's parents. We still haven't met most of our leads' parents, but hey.
Yeah.
And he's like, sorry, I auditioned for the musical because I feel happy when I do this. And he spins in a little circle and jumps.
I loved that. I was like, that's that, specifically that move. That's what you love. Okay, good for you. You precious bean. I love you.
I laughed almost as hard as I did when Finn did the same thing and just tapped out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's like, yeah, I love performing. That's what I want to do. And she's like, as your parent, it's my job to support your dreams, not mine. So like, I'm happy for you. Did we earn that part in the School Musical yet? And he's like, I don't know. And she's like, well, when you do, we're going to tell your father, you and I. And he's like, because she's like, I let go of my dreams when I was young. And he's like, well, what dream did you let go of? And she's like, I wanted to be a dancer. And he's like, well, I'm a really good teacher. And then they start waltzing, and it's so cute.
I loved this scene. I thought it was really great, and I wish like we had given the story itself more time to develop, because it was really heartwarming, but it was also like a good payoff, especially like for the sort of toward the end of the story. Because yeah, like clearly, like in a weird kind of, I guess, genetic way, she passed on her dreams of dancing to him, and like he didn't even know that. And so like that's kind of just like really sweet.
Yeah, it was really, really cute. And I would definitely say coordination probably has something to do with genetics.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
It was definitely the best part of the episode.
Yeah, I agree.
Loved it. I was just like, aw. And that was one of the biggest reasons why I love Glee, because it would do that to me, where I'm like, these are the moments why I loved Glee.
Yeah. Yeah, there are some good adults She is the second other well-adjusted adult in Lima, Ohio, next to Bert Hummel.
Susan
what's her
Chang,
name?
whatever her name. I just named her Susan.
She seems like a Susan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we know?
No, I don't think so. We know that his dad's name is Mike Chang Sr., but that's it.
Yeah, so that's the end of the Mike Chang storyline. And now we just have the Kurt and Rachel
Riff.
stuff. Well, that's touched on in the final audition scene.
There's another scene?
Well, there's like where during Fix You, Artie puts up we'll just talk about it now. During Fix You, Artie puts up the poster and he gets Riff and him and Tina are happy. And then
How does he what?
How does he what?
Put up the poster.
Right before you said it, I thought it. Where is it located though? Like,
hi.
It's fine. I don't know. I didn't like Artie in this episode. I'm so sorry.
Because it was at like standing eye level. I guess he might have been able to reach up. I don't know.
He did it.
That's refrigerator logic for you.
Yeah, exactly. Refrigerator logic. That was a long time. When did you watch this episode?
I watched it last night.
Okay, so that's a long time before you thought about that then. Or did you think about it when it happened?
I didn't know that Artie put it up.
Okay.
I also had a crazy day yesterday and I watched it before I went to bed and had a bath and was a nice little debrief of my life and then I didn't know that Artie put it up. Anyway.
Yeah, refrigerator logic for sure.
Santana gets Anita and we see this shot of her just being like, well, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
And Rachel gets Maria and she looks at Mercedes who's standing there and they're both standing there longingly. And then Blaine gets Tony. And so that's they only listed a few characters. I'm like, West Side Story has so many more characters.
Yeah, I was like, are they doing a really abridged version where they're doing 4 scenes?
I'm like, West Side Story has 20 named characters, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a lot.
Another reason why they should have picked a different musical to do, but Rachel literally picked it for them, so who knows?
Also, I don't understand why there aren't other people who decided to try out for the musical, other people in the school. It's not just Glee people who like to perform. Maybe those people just don't want to be in Glee. Maybe they actually want to be in theater. So in the Gleeboot, I suggest having some people from the school come in. Maybe those will be new characters we introduce in season.
Well, I mean, not only that, but not more people from Glee Club didn't try out. Not even the entire Glee Club tried out.
True. At least that we know of. It could have happened off screen. We don't know.
It's true. A lot of things happen off screen.
Yeah. So let's get to the quick smattering of Kurt and Rachel scenes. So Kurt is running for president, student body president, to get into NIADA. And Rachel's all like, I'm on your side. And he's like, Brittany's running, but no one takes her seriously. And then Brittany comes up to Kurt and Rachel, Brittany and Santana, and they're like, Rachel, who are you voting for? She's like, well, I pledge my loyalty to Kurt. And they're like, well, what about girl power? All past presidents of the student body class have been boys. And where has that gotten us? Double-digit inflation, unemployment, war in Afghanistan.
I was like, these are all actual political things men have caused, but not in this school. I was like, that's so funny because she's serious. She's dead serious about it. She's like, the war in Afghanistan. And then she just stares at Kurt.
And they're like, so he may look like Jimmy Kimmel's Butch daughter, but you're just empowering another Frankenbeans. And they're like, we're going to all support Brittany at today's assembly with girl power. And then Brittany just turns around. She's in a new outfit. And she starts singing Who Run the World, Girls.
Girls.
And she gathers like a dance mob of girls, and they start performing in the gym, and they're like performing around the school, and we get shots of men being like, ooh, they look hot. And then
Yep, I saw some more booty shots. Was not into it.
Nope. I was like, this song is supposed to be more empowering, and I wish that women had a one-syllable name instead of 2 syllables, because girls implies young women, and women doesn't match the song because it's 2 syllables.
Who run the world? Women. Yeah, it doesn't.
Yes, it doesn't work. But it would work with men because men is 1 syllable. I think the whole
if
reason...
the song was meant to be realistic, who run the world? Men. Yeah.
Yeah. See, there you go. But girls,
yeah, no, there was a lot of objectifying women when they were like shake. Like there was a point where Santana was kind of in the center, but we were facing their booties, and she like bent over and like shook her booty, which was like cute move, but like she's supposed to be 17, 18 years old. Like that's something that like I don't know. I'm sure we've talked about before, but just like a reminder that like I was thinking today about the car wash scene early on in like season 1. Do you guys remember when the cheerleaders
bust your windows through your car?
Bust your windows through your car, yeah. So I was thinking about how there were like a line of people, like men, wanting to go through that car wash, presumably because there's pretty girls going to be doing this car wash. But thinking about the timeline of that, they were like 15, 16 years old.
Yep.
Like, that's disgusting. And like, it's supposed to be funny that like, oh, there's a line of men waiting because they're women. No, they are girls. So that was just something that, like, I have to keep reminding myself that like this camera is wanting us to objectify these young women who to us look like they're in their 20s, but are
because they are
16, 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you scared me, Firo. All I felt was like her whiskers on my arm. I thought it was a bug. And then she meowed in my face. I'm okay though. Yeah.
Because I noticed that, so at one point they're all like gyrating on the floor, and then Diana, like Quinn, is standing there dancing. She's just like, I'm like, did Diana Agron and just be like, I refuse?
Maybe.
Because everyone else was on the floor and she was just standing.
Yeah. I don't understand how.
Also, this scene of empowerment is framed through Kurt, because Kurt's watching it upset. And so it's framed through this perspective of women's empowerment is getting in the way of what our male character wants.
Yep.
Yes. And, like, it's also like, it kind of feels, it feels a bit chaotic because we're constantly shifting between different shots, and like, there's a ton of people coming in, and like it feels chaotic. So like we're feeling Kurt's anxiety about this situation too. Like I felt anxious watching it because of that frame, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that it's getting in the way of Kurt, who wants to make a real difference, and Brittany is just silly, and so this is all just silly.
No one takes her seriously, and I'm like, Kurt, like, she's probably the smartest person. Like, she's not super book smart, but she's incredibly emotionally smart.
Yeah. So in a better Kurt scene, Kurt gives Blaine flowers and is like, I hear you're a shoo-in for Tony. And so instead of like them being rivals, like the last episode implied, they're happy together. And Blaine's like, you always dig when I think you're about to zag. And then,
which I guess I get. Like he goes one way when he thinks he's going that way. Zigzag. I get it. It takes me a little while to remember what that's supposed to mean.
Hey, I got it. I've never zigged or zagged in my whole life physically.
So do you go in a circle, or are you just like a straight line, never diverting?
Okay, fine. I zigged and I zagged. Fine.
You got him.
You got me.
Got him.
Hard-hitting journalism here on Gleeboot. So after their audition, Rachel goes to Beast and is like, Beast, I want to announce something. And so then Kurt approaches Rachel and is like, hey, I heard you said that you want to be you're running for student body president.
Wait, she doesn't say I want to announce something. She says I want to talk to you about something.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which is completely different, and I had no idea what the scene was.
Yeah.
But we already touched on that. I just wanted to bring it up again.
It's a weird scene.
Yeah, because Beast is putting on
weird.
lipstick with her reflection in a coffee pot.
Yes.
It's a very tenuous thing that, like, if they had not said, like, oh yeah, Beast says, like, oh, I'm running the student council elections, no one would have understood what that scene meant. Like, I barely got it because I remembered that. So, like, very tenuous scene. Kind of isn't necessary. She could have just literally gone to the office, or like wrote on a piece of paper, filled out her name on a thing, like, yeah, I'm gonna become a candidate. Like, literally anything else.
Or like even just adding a line to it. Like, maybe they didn't want it to be on the nose, but sometimes you gotta spell it out.
I didn't know what it was about.
It just makes no sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, she tries to steal Kurt's thunder because
she feels like
her thunder has been threatened by Mercedes. And as far as we know, Kurt's not going to get Tony, and we know this, right?
Yeah.
Like, we basically know this, even if we haven't found out that Blaine got it. So then his only chance to get into NYADA now is to be class president, which Rachel earlier said that NYADA was going to eat that up. And I'm like, no, they're not. They're not going to care, because that's not theater. Like, that's not going to matter to them.
Mm-hmm.
So Rachel is taking away literally his only chance for another thing to add to his resume. So she's trying to play both sides, both opportunities, so that she can cover herself. And I think that's really shitty.
You know what? I mean, like, it is shitty, but also, I don't care. I mean, this is high school. What was the line Kurt says? Like, when you look back on this in 10 years...
You're not going to remember the clubs you were part of or the parts you got. You'll remember the friends that you had and the ones you threw away.
I loved that line.
Yeah.
I also don't agree with it, because I don't care about my friends in high school.
Yeah, I only have like one maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
like 10 years later.
I think it makes sense for the moment. And like, what he's trying to prove is that, like, you're doing this to save yourself, and you could lose a friend from this. Like, two friends, because Mercedes and Kurt.
Maybe.
So like,
I'm such a logical person. I hate it when my emotions turn any of my decisions. And sometimes that is a detriment. But a lot of times I'm gonna side with Rachel on this one. Like, if she feels that she needs to be student body president and it's gonna help her in her future, she should go for it. Kurt should have been all over this before, and if he wasn't, like, that's his fault, not hers.
Well, it's also her fault, because she's also trying to make do with what she has.
So they both are in the same situation, and so she's going for the same opportunity as Kurt. That doesn't make her a bad person.
It makes her a bad friend, because she knows this is the only thing Kurt has, and Rachel has more.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with both of you, because I think she points out...
You can't double cast!
Because she points out that, hey, we're both equally ambitious. You would do this too. We'll make each other vice president. But she's also putting herself above her friendships.
Yeah.
And
it's a logical choice, but it's pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Maybe I would feel like more invested in their friendship if I actually saw them being friends more.
That's true. I also thought that too, because I'm like, I mean, I don't really even think Rachel's friends with anyone. I don't think she's friends with Finn. I think they just make out, and she wants to say that she has a boyfriend. So...
But there was something that Kurt said. He's like, oh, I can make a difference at this school for people like me. And I'm like, you've literally only talked about this for college applications.
Yeah. What's your platform?
Yeah, until suddenly now you're against Brittany, who's standing up for women. And now you're like, oh, well, I represent queer teens, is what he's implying.
Yeah, he implies it. He doesn't say it.
He doesn't say it, but he never said that before, and so I'm kind of like, now it's implying.
Do we believe him?
Yeah, because now we're pitting like women against queer teens as like.
Well, not everyone can have rights, Cullen.
Not only that, but we're pitting women against women because now it's Rachel against Brittany against Kurt.
Against Mercedes.
Who, in like, let's be honest, Kurt's an honorary woman in Glee. He is.
That's they called him that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all
and they
very...
treat him like that.
It's all very...
Yeah,
questionable.
It was weird when Brittany's she was like, the last few presidents have been men, and I'm like, Kurt's a man, but Kurt's gay. Like, what I mean?
Kurt's not gonna have the same platform as them. Yeah. I just kind of feel like all of this stuff is sort of pointless, because if they had actually logically thought about the story, the writers, like, they shouldn't be having so limited options. Like, they should be like, okay, I have these things, but I want this other thing. And they could compete against that for that. But like, knowing that it's like their only hope makes it even more dire. And because there's a trend right now in this episode that like Rachel gets everything because she will just take things from people and she demands things. So like, I think that's bleeding over into this storyline as well, where she's like, she's at her last hope, essentially. And so is Kurt, but like, Kurt's also someone we really want to root for in many cases. And like, I don't know, it just made it really hard for me to root for Rachel at all this episode.
Yeah, it's almost like this weird thing, which is something that doesn't happen very often, but I'm going to say it. Raising the stakes in this episode kind of lowered the quality.
Yes. Because it's just like, because the stakes make them compete against each other, and we hypothetically want them all to succeed in whatever way they can. But when they're pitted against each other in a way that's literally like their future could depend on it, it's like,
if they were pitted against other people, maybe it would work. But since they're pitted against each other, it just becomes more of like a Hunger Games thing where you're like,
and if it wasn't their only hope,
yeah,
if they had like other things on their resume that like they would be fine, just this would put them over the edge, those stakes would still be high, and it would be an interesting conflict between them,
and it would help define what their priorities are as characters.
Yes. In not such like a shitty way.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like, if Rachel was like, well, you have all these other things, but like, I really want to be class president on top of my other things, then like, cool, okay. Like, yeah, I get it.
So we have one last scene. So Finn is talking with Rachel, and she's like, Brittany got me thinking that like, as a girl, like, I could really make a difference. And Finn is like, is that really what this is about? And she's like, did you talk to Kurt about the election? And he's like, I did. He asked who I was voting for. And she's like, what did you say? And he said, I don't know. And he walks away, leaving Rachel in the hallway alone to think about her thoughts.
He's one of those undecided voters.
Boy.
Yeah.
Decide now, November 3rd.
Probably going to be a write-in. He's going to write in a candidate.
Mickey Mouse.
Ooh, interesting. I think he's going to vote for Brittany. I think he doesn't want to take a side between his stepbrother and his girlfriend. I think he's going to vote for Brittany because he supports a lot of the stupid quote unquote things that she says. Like who is Christopher Cross. He discovered America, and he was like, and Kristen's like, yeah. So I think he might vote for Brittany.
Yeah. So any other final notes on the episode before we get into MVPs and LVPs? And
I literally did not think I would be talking this much about this episode. I was very meh by the whole thing, kind of.
I enjoyed it. It was bonkers. And take a drink. And I think if in the Gleeboot, I would include a dance. I would have a whole episodes themed around dancing with like songs that talk about dancing. So I would have like One Step Closer from The Little Mermaid on Broadway, where Prince Eric is talking about like how dancing is like a language.
Has anyone except for Cullen seen Little Mermaid on Broadway?
I haven't seen it on Broadway. I've just listened to the soundtrack.
I have done neither of those things.
I like the Part of Your World on the original Broadway cast better.
Wow, hot take.
Oh boy.
I do love Sierra Bogus, yeah.
Considering that I've never heard the Broadway version.
It's just very Broadway, and I think when I heard it, I needed to hear it at that moment.
That's beautiful. You have a beautiful connection to that song.
Yeah. So I guess it is Tina time.
She had what, 5 lines this episode?
7
lines?
What?
Oh, are we doing her fantasy version?
Yes.
Well, I mean, she did talk, even if she wasn't technically there.
So in an episode called Asian F, she only got 7 lines.
Oh boy.
But this could be a record for
One of those lines was, you got an Asian F.
We had like 30 lines or something in one of the first season episodes.
Oh, when she was dating Artie.
Yeah, it was definitely, that was her record.
Yeah.
Like over 30.
Eventually, I will be going back and finding out Tina time. I will go back and track, that way we can actually, maybe that'll be my goal for the end of this season's mini-sode.
Ooh.
Fact-checking Tina time.
Yeah, fact-checking Tina time. Well, maybe not fact-checking, just going back into our episodes.
Oh, I see.
Fiero, I'm doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Did you hear her?
Yeah.
Yes. I think she has a lot to say about Asian F. She wanted to have the last word. And she just walked away. She's like, okay, that's all.
So now it's time for MVPs and LVPs, where we rate our most favorite and least favorite character in the episode.
Oh.
Hannah, who is your least valuable player?
Okay, so I wrote out a tie for both, and then I'm going to end up picking on the spot. So I wrote Rachel because she was selfish and literally didn't care about anyone else, or Shu because he was such an asshole to Mercedes. And I pick either of these people a lot, but I think I'm going to go with Shu, particularly because he was a super asshole to Mercedes, and he did not respect Emma's boundaries and put her in a very uncomfortable situation, albeit he didn't know how uncomfortable it would make her be, but like, still.
Yeah.
Respect boundaries.
Valid. DarylJim, who is your least valuable player?
Blaine.
Oh.
Here's
Whoa!
why. I didn't get
Hot
the
take.
scene. Maybe it's because I haven't been watching. I just watched this episode out of nowhere. But that scene with Blaine and Kurt was really weird to me. I was like, what is happening? We're only like, I don't get this. Like, I didn't get it. But I mean, if it was like there were scenes in the previous episode about it, then that makes sense. But really, that scene, I was like, we didn't need this scene in this episode. But that's coming from, I just haven't been watching.
Yeah.
So.
He was definitely underwhelming. Normally, like when he's in a scene, it's like, oh my God, Blaine. Yeah, it was kind of like, okay.
And even though I zig and zag, I didn't care. I just didn't care.
Alyssa?
I'm gonna go with Emma's mother because she's batshit crazy. She doesn't have a soul.
Some people would say bonkers.
And she made Emma feel like a freak for basically her entire life, and that's just no way to be a parent. And if I was really feeling it, I might say her father, because he didn't step in and stop any of that verbal and physical abuse. But I'm
thought it
going
was
with
cute.
her mother. Yeah, no. The perpetrator of the abuse in this case is getting the least valuable player in my book.
That's valid.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm going with Rachel because usually I'm the one in the podcast who probably likes Rachel the most.
Yeah.
And she was pretty unlikable this episode. She was so rude to Mercedes. And I'm like, aren't you guys supposed to be friends? Like, come on. And then, like, she was so rude and selfish to Kurt. And I just had enough of her shit this week. So, Rachel.
That's pretty serious if Cullen, who like is almost always on her side somehow trying to vouch for her, is like, fuck her.
Yeah.
Just like, I can't do it this episode.
Hannah, who is your MVP?
Okay, so I had another tie, and I'm going to make my decision, but I wrote Mike Chang for following his dreams, and then Mercedes for standing up for herself. And I'm going to give it to Mike Chang because I really love the moment with him and his mom. I thought that was very sweet, where, you know, he got to showcase his dancing and his instructing, which was cool, but also in general that, like, he ended up kind of going against his dad, even though he knew his dad would be really mad about it, and just, you know, this is what he likes to do. It's his dream, makes him happy. Yeah, and he got the role that he wanted, and he practiced his singing. He sounded really good. So many things to love about Mike Chang. His arms, come on.
Yeah.
DarylJim, who is your most valuable player?
Quinn, because she's me. No, I'm kidding. I enjoyed. I want to say emotionally, Mike Chang's mom, because that was just such a beautiful moment. I feel like I knew that happened, even though I've watched this episode once upon a time. Like I just like knew it was gonna happen, but it still hit in such a relatable and like beautiful way. Just, you know, coming to LA, being an actor, like anytime my parents support me, I'm just like, thank you, because it took them a long time. So
Nice.
Sweet. Allyssa?
I'm gonna go with Mercedes. Not because I don't love Mike Chang, but I feel like Mercedes has been waiting for this for a really long time. And the recognition that she basically like takes out of the locked grip of everyone in this episode, like she just like is forced to like tear it out of their hands, and it's about time. Like, I'm there for it. Go Mercedes. I'm really looking forward to see what she's going to be doing in this new musical group, and hopefully Sugar Mata will leave. Because I just want to see Mercedes. So
I'm going with Mike Chang. Love me, Mike Chang. Such a positive character. He followed his dreams. He danced around in a tank top.
And suspenders.
So he's just living his best life. And yeah, I support him. I support Mike Chang. I stan.
Yeah.
So, Hannah, what was your least favorite song?
Can we get the list of songs?
Oh, yeah.
Because I actually don't remember.
The list is Spotlight.
Okay, Mercedes.
It's Not Over, Mercedes and the Group. Who Run the World, Girls.
Out Here on My Own.
Out Here on My Own from Fame. And Cool from West Side Story.
And Fix You.
Oh, and Fix You, right? Coldplay.
Fix You. Yeah.
How could we forget?
That's my worst. I just don't like that song. I like maybe 3 Coldplay songs total. I couldn't tell you the name of them, but Fix You is not one of them. It's gonna be. Plus, it was Shu, and I didn't like his falsetto. I don't know. It was just too much falsetto. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I agree with the falsetto thing. Because I do like that song, but the falsetto is a bit much.
DarylJim, what was your least favorite song?
I would say Fix You. Probably for the same reason. I just didn't like Shu singing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Allyssa?
I'm gonna go with Out Here on My Own. That's the one that they did the dual audition. Yeah. It was just, I feel like we didn't get enough of the song from either of them, and it didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me as a full song with them together. I don't know. It wasn't doing it for me, especially with the high stakes of that audition. It just wasn't good enough, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm going with It's Not Over. I cringed. I remember cringing when I first watched it. I remember cringing now. I don't like when they put the characters' names into songs. Not a fan.
They changed the characters of the musical to fit the characters in Glee, and that was 100% cringe.
Yeah.
Mr. Shu is supposed to love me. No, stop it.
Gross, please. Hannah, what was your favorite song?
So this one, again, I didn't really love any of the music in this episode, even though the one I picked, Run the World, Girls, I love the song in general. Like, I love the Beyonce song, and I liked Britney's dancing and her energy, but I don't know if I really liked the singing, because it was, I don't know, there's just like Beyonce energy to it that was just lacking, obviously, because she's not Beyonce, and I hold that version very close to my heart. But I think for me, it's my favorite out of the rest of the episode songs.
DarylJim, favorite?
I promise I'm not trying to copy Hannah. Girls. Yeah, that was my favorite song too. But I think it's because I enjoyed seeing all the girls and seeing them, even though they were being objectified and whatnot. It was so nice to see all of the characters kind of jump up and dance, and it was just like fun, and it was just, the dancing was good. I remember watching it and be like, I hope the choreographer for Glee at that time like got an Emmy for these dancing, because it was so good. It was just like, I don't know. And then like them in the gym, it just looked great. I just like the production value and everything.
It reminded me a lot of the last number in High School Musical, because of the gym and dancing in like a circle.
Yeah.
It was
it felt musically epic in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna go with It's All Over. Is that what it is? It's All Over?
It's all over, yeah.
Okay, it's not over. Okay, It's All Over. Hot take. I actually really liked this. I liked the fantasy sequence, and it's probably because I have never seen it nor have any context with it at all. The only thing I didn't like was that Mercedes was not Effie, and I feel like they should have replaced her name with Mercedes. But I was having a good time. I liked everyone all gussied up. I liked the glitter, the production value. I liked the storytelling in the song. So that was my favorite.
My favorite was Cool, which I don't love that song that much. Like, it gets kind of repetitive.
Yeah.
But I like the dancing. I love Mike Chang. And it was his audition, and he put all this hard work into it. And you could tell which of the football players were the actors and which ones were the dancers. They're doing two different sets of moves.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was my favorite.
What is the exact choreography from West Side Story, wasn't it?
I couldn't tell you that. It was close.
It was at least really close.
Yeah.
Would make sense. They're doing West Side Story as their musical. I would hope they've already rehearsed. But Glee, they like to spring it on you randomly.
Yeah. And so that brings us to the end of our episode. DarylJim, is there anything you'd like to plug? Any social medias or anything?
Oh, sure. My Instagram is 2name first name. So is my TikTok, but I don't do anything. You don't need to follow that. My Twitter is DarylJim. You just switch the two first letters of my names. And that's where, that's kind of it.
Nice.
What did you say your Instagram was?
2name first name. I constantly have to say that when I introduce myself to people, because DarylJim is a 2-name first name. So
Got it.
yeah.
Is it like number 2?
Oh, you spell out 2, like
Okay.
TWO, and you
just
spell
all
out
one
first.
word.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yay.
Cool.
Hannah, do you want to plug our Somies?
Yes. So we are at Gleeboot Pod on Instagram and Twitter. And then we are gleebootpod.tumblr.com on Tumblr.
You can follow my other podcast, Wanderers Cove, at Wanderers Cove Podcast on Instagram.
Hannah, do mine.
You can follow Alyssa on Instagram at a.m.swearingen, SWEARINGEN.
Well, it makes me feel so important when somebody else does mine.
Are you going to post our pumpkin carving on there?
Oh, yeah, I should do that. Yeah, I will.
So you can see the pumpkins we carved last night
Yes.
for
Spooky
spooky
Halloween.
season.
We call them Derpy Shark and Winky Face.
Derpy Shark and Winky Face. Nice.
Yes.
I patted them on the head this morning.
Yes, they're super cute.
Aw.
Aw.
So, DarylJim, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you had fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I enjoyed talking about Glee. I haven't seen it in so long, and it's just so nice. It's nostalgic, and truly back then, this show meant so much to me. Like I watched Kurt come out and be brave, and all these talented singers, or in the story, they were being in a part of a club that wasn't really cool, or their parents weren't accepted of. So it meant a lot to me back then. It was nice to revisit this. So thank you for asking me.
Yay.
Yay.
Of course.
Yeah.
Cullen, what would happen if you asked that question and they were like, yeah, this sucked?
I'd be like, cool.
That would be so fucking funny.
We'll cut that out, and we'll use another voice to sound match and be like, I love this so much.
Yeah, you would be like, nah, it was okay. It was fine. We'd be like, I had so much fun.
Fake
my God.
news. Fake news.
Well, thank you, audience, for listening in. Next week is Pot of Gold, which is the Irish episode, and I think we're having my siblings on.
So much
So-
Irish.
More than one person as a guest?
Yeah.
We're having the whole
Oh.
Callaghan clan.
Oh boy.
Without the parents.
That sounded good. Callaghan clan? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why all our names start with C, just to
Oh boy. Alliteration.
yeah. All right, well, thanks, guys.
Mhm.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I'm waving again.